Fractions 1. This is the first section in 1314 with the COREC. So here's the important things you need to know. You need to know that a fraction is a form of division. It has two parts, a numerator and denominator. We're talking about a proper fraction or an improper fraction. And then you need to know that factors are called multipliers, right? So 2 times 3, those are two factors that give us a product. And then in some of these, we're going to talk about the rules of divisibility. So a number is divisible by 5 when it ends in 5 or 0. And then another rule you have to remember is what's done to the top in a fraction has to be done to the bottom. So whatever occurs in the numerator occurs in the denominator. And then another divisibility rule is when you divide by 2, our numbers end in 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the first fraction. So when they say lowest terms, they mean simplify, right? Or if you're a more mature student, they mean the word reduce. So this right here ends in a 0 and a 5, so no, it's divisible by 5. So divide the numerator by 5, divide the denominator by 5, and I get 2 over 17. That's my answer in lowest terms. Then we look at something like number 2, and this ends in a 4 and a 6. So at minimum, I can divide by a 2. So this is when it helps to know your multiplication tables. 2 goes into 24 12 times. 2 goes into 26 13 times. 13 is a prime number, so this is in lowest terms. Number 3, and we have numbers that end in 0. So I have 140 over 260. So this is a divisibility of 10. So it's when a number ends in a 0. So then from here, since these numbers end in 0, they're divisible by 10. So I say divide 10, I get 14 over 26. Now this is not in lowest terms, so we're gonna divide one more time. These are again numbers that end in 4 and 6, so I can divide them by 2. Divide by 2 equals 7 and 13. So 7/13 is lowest terms. We have the fractions, right, and how to do lowest terms. We're going to talk about improper fraction and a mixed number. So an improper fraction is different from a proper fraction, which is what we were working with earlier. So a proper fraction has a numerator less than a denominator, and an improper fraction has a numerator greater than a denominator. So you have to know your inequality signs. So then we go about how to go from a improper fraction to a mixed number, and that's what the instructions are asking us to do here. Remember, the instructions are the same in your online work. And then we're going to talk about what a mixed number is. We have a whole number part and a fraction part. So another way of looking at this would be like to look at it as a decimal. So it'd be 8.5. So this is the whole, and then this is the fraction. So a mixed number can also be seen as a decimal. So the way we do this is going to be long division. So we make a house. This is going to be the 44 inside the house, and then 3 goes outside the house. So this is the denominator, and that's going to be the numerator. So 3 goes into 4 one time, minus 3, you get 14. 3 goes into 14 4 times, minus 12. 2 is my remainder. So this right here is my whole number. This is my numerator, again, my denominator. And when we rewrite this, we get 14 2/3. We want to make sure, again, this is lowest terms. 2 and 3 are prime numbers. So you're done with 59 divided by 12, or 59 twelfths. Our answer is 4 and 11 twelfths. This is already in lowest terms. So the way we get that answer is saying 12 goes into 59. 12 goes into 59 4 times. 4 times 12 is 48. You subtract the 48 from the 59, and you get the difference of 11. So this is your whole This is your numerator, and that's your denominator. Proper fraction. So the way we kind of do this is you multiply the mixed number times the denominator. Mixed number times denominator, and then add the numerator. So it kind of goes like in a circle. So it's 4 times 4 plus 3, and then you keep the denominator, which is 4. So in this case, I get 19 over 4. And here's an example of that. Okay, let's do it again with the number 9. You're going to get 7 times 7, and then you're going to add the 3. So 7 times 7 plus 3. 49 plus 3 is 52. And all of that's over the original denominator, which is 7. So 52 over 7. These are, again, you want to make sure that they're all in lowest terms. At number 11. So it says perform the operation, write the answer as a fraction lowest terms. Operation is the order of operation. So order of operations is parentheses, exponent, multiply, divide, add, subtract. These little dots mean multiply. So the way you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. So numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and get this. And you're going to do lowest terms at the end. So when you're multiplying, we're going to say 2 times 2, 7 times 9. And we set that up. And then we get 4 over 63, and then make sure it's in lowest terms, and that's correct. Let's see. The next number we're going to do is 12, so 5 times 11 and 7 times 15. I get 55 over 105. When I simplify this, I notice that each number ends in 5, so that means they're both divisible by 5. So 55 divided by 5 and 105 divided by 5 is going to be 11 over 21. So next, we're multiplying 16 times 18 and then 27 times 23. From that, I get 288 over 621. When I'm simplifying this, I can tell you right now they're divisible by 3. So the way that you tell something is divisible by 3 is you add all the digits together. I'm just going to go with 9, divide the top and the bottom by 9. My answer is 32 over 69. So divisibility by 3 works like this. When something's divisible by 3, you add the numbers together. So in like the denominator, I get 621. So I add the 6, the 2, and the 1. I got a 9. 9 is a product of 3, right? 3 goes into 9 evenly, right? 3 times 3 equals 9. And then you could do the same with the numerator. 2 plus 2 plus 8 plus 8. I got 16 plus 2 is 18. 18 is, if I divide by 3, 6 goes into that evenly. So you want to just pick the greatest factor of 3 that you can divide by. And in this case, I knew it was 9. Let's see. So then down here for number 14, we're doing the mixed number. You got to create a mixed number from that 2 1/3. So I'm saying 2 times 3 plus 1 is 7 over 3. And then you multiply by 27 over 29. So then from here, again, you're creating an improper fraction, multiplying, and then simplify. So I get 189 over 87. That is not in lowest terms. I divide by the common factor of 3 by the top and the bottom. And my simplified solution is 63 over 29. And then lastly, that's before I give you the answer. So 7 has an invisible 1 underneath it. So that's a whole number times 1 and 8/17. So we want to create an improper fraction from that mixed number. Excuse me. So I have 7 over 1 times 25 over 17. I get 175 over 17. 17 is prime, so that's already in lowest terms. It means, in this case, to flip. So in a typical fraction, you have the numerator over the denominator. So reciprocal means that you make the denominator move it to the top and numerator moves to the bottom. You don't want to use an equal sign. You want to use an implied sign, which is the arrow, because these are not equivalent statements. So 8 over 9, the reciprocal of that is 9 over 8. Reciprocal of 1 over 16 is going to be 16 over 1. Remember that 1 can become invisible, so we actually just get 16. And then 19, I added the 1 underneath, right? Because it's 14 over an invisible 1. And then when I create the reciprocal, I get 1 over 14. And then when we're looking at number 20, we're trying to perform the operation. So we're going to write the answer as a fraction lowest terms. So these are a little bit different. We want to look at proper and improper fractions only when we are performing division of fractions. So with the division of fractions, what happens is that you're going to keep the sign, you're going to keep the first fraction, change the sign of division to multiplication, and then create the reciprocal for the second fraction. So it's 5/1, and then remember or recall that the way that you multiply fractions is by multiplying by going across. So I have 5 times 1 and then 2 times 1. So then I get 5/2. And then it says to keep it as a fraction, and that's already in lowest terms because both those numbers are prime. At number 21, these are the steps you kind of want to use right here because we're dividing fractions. You want to keep the first fraction as an improper or proper fraction. Multiply operation, so your division becomes multiplication. Reciprocal of the second fraction, and then solve for the lowest terms. Those are the steps, so we're just kind of going to go through them. So for number 21, you're keeping the first fraction. Right? Then the division becomes multiplication, and then you create the reciprocal. That's an 8/1. So I have 4/5 times 1/8. You multiply going across. So I get 4 times 1/5 times 8. So I have 4/40. I can divide both of them by 4, and I just say 1/10. That's my answer in lowest terms. Number 22, keep the first fraction, 9/2. Change the division to a multiplication. Reciprocal is 7/2, and that's going to equal 14/18. This is not in lowest terms, so I divide both by 2, and then I get 7/9. Number 23, I have a mixed number. We want to create a improper fraction, so I have 3 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 10/3. Divided by 4, so I'm rewriting my problem, and then I keep the first fraction, 10/4, made the division the multiplication, made the 4 the reciprocal of 1/4, multiply by going across. I get 10 times 1, 3 times 4, so I get 10/12, reduce that by 2, and then I get 5/6. For this last one, this one's kind of long. Creating improper fractions for both, keeping the first, change the sign, reciprocal. So then I go a little bit faster, and you can just use a calculator. So I have 2 2/5 divided by 3 4/5 equals 12/19. The calculator will always give you the reduced fraction.